and welcome to Midweek Connect from Elim Church Romsey. My name is Dave Walker. I'm in a different location at the moment just for a change, actually in a car park in Southampton. But I just thought I'd just do it differently. Maybe sometimes a different location makes it more refreshing. I'm going through the Gospel of John on Wednesdays, and our title is Journey Through John. And we come to John chapter 15. I'm not going to go for the whole of it, but the main thrust of it is abiding in the vine, where Jesus refers to himself as the vine, and we who are his followers need to abide in that vine. And I would say that John 14, 15, 16 and 17 are four tremendous chapters which I would actually recommend to anybody as an individual discipleship course in themselves. I mean, read John 15 today, read the whole lot, but I want to read just a few verses from there up to verse 8, and then we'll talk about what comes out of that, and I'll encourage you with it in a new way, and a way which hopefully you haven't encountered before. John chapter 15. I am going up to verse 8 at the moment. I am the vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself, it must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Look at the word if there. If a man remains in me. It then says, apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not remain in me, he is like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown in the fire and burned. If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be given to you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. I've gone up there to verse 8. I just want to leave it there. And this effectively brings out a few things about the whole subject of abiding in the vine. When you read through this, it sounds very sharp, but it is what it is. It means what it means. We need to remain in the vine, because if we don't remain in the vine, we've got no inner assurance really that we're ever there in the first place. We've got to stick close to God. We've got to remain in the vine every single day. That is important. It's so important, because if we don't, then we lose track of our calling and everything else starts to go wrong. Just 5 things that come out of here that really challenge me. To start with, he talks about pruning. Do you know what pruning is? Well, pruning is pruning a bush, and obviously making sure that we get all the dead leaves off and the dead heads. We prune our rose bush, but God prunes us as well. And do you know what? I went for a period of pruning many years ago where I was praying for something. I was praying for God to do something, and it just didn't seem as though it was happening. I was praying and praying for God to provide a particular thing in my life, and it just wasn't happening. It was connected to healing, and it was horrible because it didn't seem as though I was getting there. It didn't seem as though God was answering that prayer. And do you know what he was doing? He was pruning. He was pruning. He was pruning me. He was allowing me to go through a hardship so that I could get closer to him. And each day I'd pray and not see the answer I wanted, but I would eventually then get close to him. And it was a period, but it was a horrible time. When the pruning shears come and cut your leaves, it can be a very, very difficult time. I do apologise for the noise of the cars going on around me, but I've got to keep the windows open, otherwise the windows steam up. We see that God prunes us. Secondly, we see that he wants us to bear fruit. He wants us to bear fruit. The other night at church, something bizarre happened. It was the most weird thing ever. It was, to start with, it was frightening, but then it was just incredible. We were in a prayer meeting and we were praying for God to send new people in the church, for God to send people in to accept the Christian message and come and be part of the church. And all of a sudden there was a bang, 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 bang on the exterior door, and the doors flew open and the inner doors flew open, and all of a sudden a man with a mobility scooter came flying in the sort of the church and parked at the back, almost demolishing the door. Now basically he'd been somewhere for some food and he came in, saw that a church service was on. But I just thought, yeah, you know, we have got to bear fruit. And if God sends people in so that we can invite them to know the Christian message, then that's how he's going to do it. But he doesn't normally want to do it that way. He wants us to go out on the streets, and that's why we as a church are going out in the marketplace in Romsey over August on at least 2 occasions, just sharing our faith with people, because it is our raison d'etre and it's what we were called to do. And so on Saturday, on the 3rd of August, we'll be out there sharing our faith with, well, not so much sharing our faith to start with, but handing out refreshments to people. And if we have to share our faith, if that happens, if God commands us to do that individually, then that will happen. But we're going out among the people of Romsey. The other thing is we have to, so first in pruning, bear fruit, then we have to allow Jesus to clean us, because he has already cleaned us. We've already been cleaned because of the word spoke to us. So that's the third thing. So he prunes us, he allows us to bear fruit, and he makes us realize that we have been cleaned for him, cleaned by him as well. Number 4, we can do nothing apart from him. We can absolutely do nothing apart from him. If you live your life daily under your own instructions and under your own anxieties, just going from one thing to another, you've missed out on everything. Involve him in every single decision. Every decision, if you involve it in him, you'll have success. And finally, it goes on in the verse below. I think I mentioned it here. This is to my Father's glory, verse 8, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. We need to show ourselves to be God's disciples. When we go out onto the street, abiding in the vine, other people need to look at us and say, that is a disciple of God. Many years ago, in the 80s, I was delivering for what was then called the SDP Alliance. Remember that, you know, and I was delivering leaflets door to door. And there was a man on the phone talking to his friend, and I knocked on the door, and the man opened the door and said to his friend, oh, don't worry, it's some idiot from the SDP Liberal Alliance, referring to me. But how did he know I was from them? Because I had the big badge on. And I want to say to you, do you carry the Christian badge when you go out onto the street? Because that's what we're called to do. Showing ourselves to be his disciples. Abide in the vine, allow him to prune us, bear fruit, know that we are clean by him, do nothing apart from him, and show yourselves to be his disciples. Get out there today and allow a bit of that truth to transform you in the midst of your problem, in the midst of your anxiety. Trust me, Christianity will be more enjoyable. If you're watching this and you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Saviour, my absolute challenge to you, my recommendation is that you make him your Lord and Saviour, because he is the only way to heaven. Come and join us, Elim Church Romsey, this particular Sunday, 10:30 a.m. I'm going to be preaching. I look forward to seeing you. God bless you, and thank you for joining us for Midweek Connect today. Thank you.